Have you ever wanted to be a host on an ACA show or be the one calling the shots behind the scenes? Are you in Austin, Texas, or at least Austin adjacent? Well, on Saturday, February 25th, make your way down to the Free Thought Library because we'll be holding open auditions for show hosts and orientations for prospective crew members. For those wanting to be hosts, you'll be able to sit in the studio where our shows are broadcast and we'll put you through your paces to see if you can be one of the new personalities of the ACA. For future crew members, you'll get hands-on experience using the equipment used for broadcast and will help us record the host auditions. If you've ever dreamed of being part of the ACA productions, then this is your chance to show us what you've got. This event is free. For more information and registration, visit tiny.cc/ACA auditions.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes? I wonder.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I also wonder if you are ready for the Atheist Experience today on February 12th, 2023, Americana Football Contest of Champions Day. And obviously we're dressed for the event. My name is Johnny P. Angel, and I'm joined today by Phoebe Rose. How are you doing, Phoebe?
I'm feeling very English today.
Yeah.
Feeling very, very English today.
And-
There will be no hand of God in this episode. There will be no hand of God.
Well, maybe Diego Maradona will call in today
Maybe.
from the afterlife.
This is very true.
And tell us exactly what happened as though we don't already know what happened. As I had mentioned, it's the Atheist Experience, a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. We are going to go right into a caller. We have got Scott, who is a he and a him. He's coming out of California. And what I'm seeing here, Scott, is that you have a justification of slavery and genocide that is depicted in the Bible. And then you also say if morality is subjective, then it's justifiable. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. Johnny and Phoebe want to say hi. Tell us what you mean about that.
Hi, yeah, I'm in Poland, not California. I don't
Slight difference. Sorry about that.
I think.
Who said did I say California?
You did. You said California.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry about that. Scott, tell me what you mean.
I think, yeah, well, the Bible to me is a mishmash of fact and fiction. Okay, so if we took part of it as fact and said, yeah, there was slavery and genocide, if our morality is subjective, and for instance, as I said to the person before, if for England to survive, Europe had to go, then Europe has to go. I think that also proves that God, the possibility of God, is incredibly slim because it's an evolutionary process where we are animals and part of our instinct is to protect our own. And we're also tribal, so as opposed to us always wanting to get together to, protect the whole of the species, there's subsects within our species that we don't get on with. And if you had to wipe them out to survive, whilst it might not be ethical or morally acceptable to the majority, if you're in a situation of kill or be killed, then I think it's justifiable. The same with slavery. If you needed to take slaves to ensure the survival of your clan, for instance, or your clan would die out, then I would say that is justifiable as well. But that doesn't mean that it is moral or it can be seen as a moral action. It's just needs to be whilst the devil drives, pardon the pun.
You're saying it would be expedient under the circumstances, but not moral? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting that if for your people to survive, if you had a choice to make that might not be
are you saying the ends justify the means?
Some people would still do it.
Scott, are you saying the ends justify the means here? I want to roll. Instead of break in here, but I need to roll back. So you said that you believe the Bible is a mishmash of fact and fiction. How have you come to the conclusion of what is fact in the Bible and what is fiction in the Bible? And how do you know it's fact? And how do you know it's fiction?
This is one of the issues. We're not all philosophers. It's fact. If they're talking about a place called Galilee, we know Galilee's there. So it's a factual place. So if they're talking about Galilee, I'm assuming it's a fact that.
So you're saying there's objective facts in there? Is that what you're saying? You're saying there's objective facts in the Bible?
Yes, I'm also stating that there has been genocides that have happened throughout history. So it's probably a fact that genocides happen. Slavery has also happened throughout history. So it's probably a fact that slavery has happened.
Okay.
I'm an atheist, by the way. So
I saw that. Let's let the audience know that we haven't said that Scott is an atheist. I don't think that. I know we've had this call a bunch of times. We have so many times talked about that there may be some justification, or callers have made the argument that there's some justification for slavery. Usually, it's coming from a theist caller who wants to defend the faith in some way. But just because something happens, Scott, I just don't see how that's justification for it. The fact that human beings might do it to preserve their clan out of some desperate need to maintain their culture, I don't think that it's justifiable. I think it's just something that people would do. I think it's abhorrent and it's tribalistic and it externalizes the humanity of others for the purpose of preserving your individual way of life. I just don't think that there's any justification whatsoever, whether it's in the Bible or not, for treating a human being as a means and not an end in themselves. And just because some Bronze Age semi-savages may have justified it, and it worked for them, and the culture influenced Christianity, and Christianity is dominant right now, I just don't think that counts. So is that really what you're saying, or have I got you wrong?
No, you've got me 100% right. I think the problem may be is that we have to look at it dispassionately. I disagree with the basic ideology, and I would be against slavery. Well, I am against slavery, and I'm against genocide. Yeah. What I'm trying to state is that it actually reinforces the fact that God is a fictional character, because it proves that we are animals and that we are part of the environment that we live in, because we would do things and go on.
I've got a hypothetical question here for you. If for the survival of your tribe, you and your family had to be taken as slaves, would you accept it?
It's a situation that is easy to answer with regards to it not really happening. I would assume that if it was the case of if everyone was going to be wiped out if we didn't get taken as slaves, then I don't think we would have much choice, would we? Because if we decided not to do it, we'd get wiped out anyway. So there would be no survival. So again, by doing that and being entered into slavery, which isn't something that I would want, obviously, but if it's something that had to be done, then I believe that would be altruistic on our behalf for the survival of the rest of our specific clan, which again, to me, reinforces the fact that God is a fictional creation, because I believe it's a natural evolution which is why the majority of us all work together to, make sure that we don't have to go into slavery, that genocides don't happen because we evolve. But there are, unfortunately, certain individuals that don't run on the same train tracks as we do. And to them, it wouldn't be, a necessary evil, so to speak, which, again, doesn't make it right, but it reinforces the fact there is no...
Yeah, Scott, I think what you're suggesting is that if it's a choice, if your individual community were going to be subjected by conquerors to an overwhelming force, an outside overwhelming force, that it's a choice between complete extermination and voluntary slavery, which is kind of nonsense. And so if you were to choose for you and your family, like, we will go into permanent bondage so that we may live to fight another day, you're suggesting that is the moral choice versus allowing yourself to just stand on your feet and be cut down by these hordes. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's an aspect of our nature. Some people wouldn't do it. Some people would do it, which is the point that I'm trying to make. Some people would just say, I'm never going to accept that, and they would be wiped out. And some people would say, okay, and then they would try to escape or try to do whatever they could to get out of the bondage, and survive and make sure that their people...
Yeah, but Scott, I've got one more question.
I still think it's abhorrent.
Scott, I got it. Hold on. Phoebe's got a question.
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
How are you joining the dots?
Mm-hmm.
Join the dots for me, because I'm slightly not following. How are you joining the dots from your moral standpoint and hypotheses and positions that you're putting forward here today, and it therefore being that God does not exist? Join the dots for me.
Join the dots for you. Well, I believe that anything that is complex on top of an easy explanation doesn't need to be there. You don't need extra layers of stuff. So, for instance, there are if you observe nature, there are other animals that will,
But medical science is very complicated. Are you saying we don't need the complex layers of that as well?
What's complicated? Sorry, what did you say?
Medical science is very, very complicated. My line of work is very, very complicated.
Yeah.
Are we saying we don't need the extra layers on top of that?
No, because what you're doing is you're taking something that is real and you are trying to understand something that can be physically examined, and you can, understand behavioural traits, etc., etc. So you've got stuff that you can look at and you can understand. And the other thing is 95% of the population of this planet don't have, they're not biologists, they're not chemists, they're not, physicists. We're just normal people, okay? And whilst it's all fair and well, coming across and having a philosophical conversation, not everyone gets it at the top end. A lot of us want it a lot simpler. And the simplest way for me, my understanding of it is the fact that everything that we are doing now, when we are drilling inward, we are testing things that are observable in the universe. So behavioural studies, if you go back to Pavlov's dogs or whatever you want to do.
All right, Scott,
hang on. Please let Johnny say something.
Scott, I appreciate your call. I guess, so no offense, but this is not earth-shattering conversation here. We don't think that God is real either. Or at least we're not convinced that God is a thing. We're
as I say, if you have evidence of God, convince me.
Yeah, but Scott's an atheist, so you're calling to say that. I just don't get it, Scott. I appreciate you calling. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna go on to another caller. You take care and have a great weekend. All right. Well, you know what?
I'm still missing the dots, Johnny, on that.
Yeah,
I'm still missing the dots.
The reason why I cut that call short is because I had a kind of like a so what moment going on here, and then we kind of
kind of feeling the same.
We started meandering. Yeah, it looked a lot spicier and interesting in the description. So for those of you following along at home, we have a basic description of what the call is going to be about, and it just became a kind of preaching to the choir kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And then philosophical meanderings. No offense, Scott, but if I'd have known that's what your call was about, I wouldn't have taken you. Look, if you like what we do and you like to support us, here are some ways you can support the Atheist Experience and the ACA. You can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. Click the join button below the video, and this will give you access to special chat emojis. And you can send a super chat with a question or comment, which will be read live. I'm about to do that pretty soon during the show. The Atheist Experience is just one of the shows put on by the ACA. Make sure you check out our other shows. You got Secular Sexuality on Thursdays, starting at 7 p.m. Central. Truth Wanted airs on Friday at 7 p.m. Then, of course, the Sunday shows. Talk Heathen. Everyone watches Talk Heathen. It airs at 1. The flagship is the Nonprofits, and that was on just before us, starting at 3 p.m. You can support us on Patreon at tiny.cc/PatreonAXP. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off some of these super chats. We got Greg Markowski. Much appreciated, Greg. Sent us $4.99. You keep that penny. You save it. It'll gain interest. Thank you for making Sundays great. We do our best, and thank you for watching, and we do it for you. Courtney C, $4.99 also. So grateful to the ACA for all they do to keep me sane. Well, call in sometimes, share your experiences. Sounds like you got some pressure from the outside trying to make you lose it, but you haven't lost it yet. And of course, we've got Student Dr. Ben, 5 bones from Student Dr. Ben. I'm here to shout out my amazing friend, Phoebe Rose. I guess Johnny is okay too. Watch yourself. Watch yourself, Ben.
You should have seen Ben on Talk Heathen today. Ben was really good on Talk Heathen.
Really? Well,
yeah.
And I would say pause the video, but you can just wait till later. Go back and watch Ben on Talk Heathen. I'd heard good things too.
Yeah.
And then Jason Sherwood, a member of 2 years, he spent the extra penny just like Ben did and said, Student Dr. Ben, I don't know if we can say that Phoebe's ego is already gigantic. Well, we know that. That's a known.
Well, of course. If you send me on like Secular Sexuality, then you'll know that, my ego is let loose on those shows. It really is.
No. There are worse things. I don't know what this is about, but I'm gonna take Tommy's call. Tommy from Alabama. That's not Poland, not California, Alabama. Sorry about that. Him. What do you think about the 7AC sequence? Does it demonstrate design? Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Tommy. Phoebe and I talked about this before the show. We don't know anything about the 7AC sequence. So we're going to put up a clock right there, and we're going to ask you to please explain it to us like we are 5 years old. And maybe the audience will enjoy that as well.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on. And I think it was probably something that was lost in the call screening translation. It's the Fibonacci number, Fibonacci number is what I'm referring to.
Fibonacci, yes.
Is that something you're familiar with?
You got the clock up. Explain it to us.
Yeah. Give it to the audience. I know a bit about it. I've seen it. I've seen it referenced. But explain it.
Basically, it's in mathematics, it is a sequence of numbers where each number is the sum of the 2 preceding ones. So your sequence would go like 0, 1, and you would add those 2 numbers together, and you would get 1, and then you add 1 and 1 together, and you get 2, and then 2 plus 3 is 5. It's an ongoing sequence, and it comes out to a ratio that you wind up seeing represented proportionally throughout nature. You'll see it in the divisions of tones in music. You'll see it in the expansion. If you're talking about the bones of the hand, the phalanx bones to the carpal bones, and the ratio of the size of those expanding as you go back. You'll see it become what generates the petals and the proportionality of that on various flowers, pine cones, all these kinds of things. And this was something that hit me just kind of out of left field a week ago. I was an evangelical for 45 years. I became an atheist 2 years ago, and this threw me for a loop when I saw this last week. I was like, I don't know what this means.
So I feel like I should be channeling my inner Katie Montgomery here because she's the mathematician around these parts. why do you think that this mathematical sequence, I'm aware of this mathematical sequence, how do you think that this is more than just a coincidence? How do you think that it's just that what we have looked at and we have found something that mathematically goes through the motions and goes through the notions, and we have been able to apply it to science as we have? Because mathematical science being applied to other sciences is fairly standard and fairly normal. How do you believe, or how have you come to the conclusion that it's beyond what is just mathematical evolution and mathematical applications to evolutionary science to actually demonstrate a design? Sell that one to me.
Yeah, and it's not something I feel I need to sell. I'm not convinced of it myself. I guess what I'm saying is it may just be something that's just naturally occurring, and it is what it is, and based in all of these different domains that we see it observed throughout, nature, it just may be what's needed to generate what we see, and I get that. I'm fine with that. I guess I do see creationists and theists say this argues maybe not for a designer, but it looks kind of like a tool that the designer might use, I guess is. And I haven't seen a good rebuttal to that online, and trying to look at, what would the atheist response be to, the Fibonacci, a sequence being evidence for a divine type of a thing.
I got you, Tommy. I think it's clear. I think it's clear that mathematical relationships are evidence that things have relation to each other. I'm not a mathematician, neither is Phoebe, but to suggest that it's evidence for a designer or a tool that a designer would use, I think that presupposes that you can prove that such a designer exists, and the fact that
I totally agree with that.
I'm not convinced, because the designer that anyone would be talking about would be something that would be so profoundly outside of anything observable, testable, and provable that you're out of the frying pan and into the fire. So if such a designer exists, then everything would be a tool that designer could use, but you'd still be at the problem of having to prove that such a designer exists, and you'd have to design tests. And what's amazingly convenient is that whenever one says, well, go ahead and prove that your designer, that your creator, that your first mover exists, well, you can't do that with God. It's a special pleading argument.
Right.
And so it doesn't really get us anywhere. Yeah, that's about it. But as far as what does the Fibonacci sequence signify to me as a non-believer, gee whiz, isn't that interesting? Look at how there's so many different ways that this can manifest in nature, the way matter interacts
about it. Because I'll you'll hear theists talk about the design that's in DNA, and you're like, no, that's just what chemicals do, and or you'll see, well, you have these different constants that we see in nature and the fine-tuning arguments that they throw out from that. They're kind of like one-trick pony things, but this is everywhere in all kinds of things, from science to mathematics to golden ratio in building and art and even in our own. Yeah, it was an interesting wrinkle to the whack-a-mole that I try to do with putting down things that would try to suppose a theist world construct again. But
Tommy, I want to ask: are you aware of the Grand Unified theory?
Of what theory?
The Grand Unified theory. You're aware of the concept of the Grand Unified theory and the Einsteinian theory of everything?
Yes and no. Not from an expert level at all, but I'm familiar with it as a concept.
So, the Grand Unified theory is trying to take all of the disparate theories, mainly in theoretical physics, and pushing them all into one big theory. So if that was to occur and it could be applied, do you, as an atheist, see that as an argument being used, or is that something that maybe would convince you of it demonstrating a design? Or is that just the natural evolution of science, and then it moves on?
My conclusion would probably be, well, that's just how the universe works. It doesn't mean that there's somebody working it. And that may be all that this is. But because it crossed so many different domains, it was a little bit more interesting to me than just, one thing that's put out there as the DNA design thing, argument or whatever.
Tommy, I think I agree with you. It's interesting. It's neat. But
that's about all it
unless,
is.
that's about it. Unless you have enough evidence, enough support for anything other than that, anything beyond that. Like, wow, look at how neat the universe is. This is exactly what I always, I sort of gripe about. It grinds my gears is that the world is filled with so many amazing, beautiful, intricate little details that you can spend an entire lifetime exploring. You can get advanced degrees. You can get tenure and spend your entire tenure as a professor working on some little fragment of a newt of a gnat and no one's ever heard of before, and your life will be enriched with detail on that. And then human beings who aren't willing to put in the work so frequently would rather imagine that there is a ghost that inhabits everything, that makes everything, that bends matter and the universe toward a moral arc that tells us who we can bang and who we cannot bang. I know that's oversimplifying it, but Tommy, thank you so much for calling. Do appreciate you.
Time. Y'all have a good one.
You take care. All righty. Well, you know what? If you shop on Amazon, while you still can, you can support the ACA at no additional cost to you. That's true. Simply visit tiny.cc/Amazon Smile ACA and designate the Atheist Community of Austin as your selected charity. And Amazon will donate a portion of their profit to the ACA. It won't cost you one whit more. We have a channel that houses all of the shows of the ACA in podcast form. Visit tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. And there you can listen to all the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, Secular Sexuality, and of course the flagship show of the ACA, the nonprofits. In one channel, you don't have to look at us. You can just listen while you're working out or driving, whatever it is you do, whatever it is you people do when you're not watching. We also have 3 Facebook groups that are run by fans. For fans that you can interact with. The first is the Atheist Experience fan group. You can go there at tiny.cc/FBAXP. There's also the Atheist Experience private fan group, where you can interact with others without having those interactions appear on your public feed. And go to tiny.cc/FBAXPPR. Sometimes people aren't entirely out of the closet when it comes to not believing in all that magic stuff. They don't want Aunt Petunia to give them grief at Thanksgiving or whatever. We also have a new group, the Atheist Experience fan group, Atheist versus Theist Debates. It's not exactly new. It's been around for a while. But there you can try out some of your arguments on theists and atheists alike, much like our first 2 callers tried some stuff out. Well, you could go ahead and do that at the fan group at tiny.cc/AXP fan debates. So, go do that. And, while I'm here, I just wanted to apologize. I had stepped on my own feet last week. It's something that's really been haunting me. I wake up in the middle of the night. I made an oblique reference to, I have no mouth. I'm a scream. And I made the unforgivable mistake of saying that it was written by Robert Heinlein. It's not written by Robert Heinlein. It's written by, oh, shit. I'm blanking. No, I know it wasn't right at the time. See, this is the problem. Harlan Ellison all day long. Did you know that, Phoebe?
No.
Okay.
I did not, but then again, I wasn't going to step in because it was just far too hilarious to watch you squirm. Especially, you needed the hand of God there. You needed the hand of God to reach in and help you there, but unfortunately, the hand of God is lacking.
Phoebe, the fact that you didn't know makes you worse than if you knew the wrong thing.
No, it just makes me ignorant.
Okay. All right. Well, enough ignorance. We're going to talk to a deist. Gary, him, out of Maryland. This physiology that convinces so many people that they will live forever in the form of an afterlife. Gary, you are on the Atheist Experience with Phoebe Rose and Johnny P, and I would like for you to please explain what you mean by that.
Johnny P, so glad to talk with you.
Likewise, good to talk to you.
Hi, Gary.
Phoebe, nice to meet you. I don't remember seeing you on the show before. I've been
First
watching
time.
for a couple of years. You guys have helped me with my deconversion from a theist to a deist.
Okay. We're getting there.
I made a mistake. I still attend my local church. I love singing the hymns. And I feel like I've got a relationship with some sort of God. But there goes my alarm.
Maybe that's God. Maybe that's God reaching out.
Maybe it's God asking you to explain the physiology.
Yeah,
but
the physiology. Yeah. I got distracted for a second by the alarm.
It happens to the best of us. So tell us about this.
There are so many people that seem to think that they're going to live forever, and I think incorrectly. And the physiology that we all share that encourages that belief is the fact that we have no experience with non-existence.
Right. It's true.
We all have, I'm sorry, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. Don't have a head wound. Yeah, don't be nervous.
Don't do it, Johnny. Don't do it, Johnny.
Gary, who wants to live forever?
Well, I would.
I'd
love to live forever.
Believe that they are going to live forever.
Okay, so let's talk about Christianity then. Many Christians, in fact, I think that's baked in. They believe that they're going to die, and either they're going to go to the good place, they're going to go to the bad place, or some of them believe that they will be obliterated from existence. Right?
Some of them believe obliterated. That's never been preached from any of my pulpits.
No. Okay.
The churches I all attend, you're going to have to live in torment, or you get to live in bliss forever.
Bliss. Yeah. But Gary, let's zero in. There's a lot of different beliefs. Some people believe in an afterlife. Some people don't. What about you? What do you believe in? Do you believe that there is some form of continued existence past the point of death?
Because I have never seen any evidence of it, no. I think I've got just a couple. The doc says I've got just a couple more years left, and I think that's going to be it for me.
Yeah. Okay. So you believe that physiology convinces so many people. So what aspect of physiology is it merely that we have no experience of non-existence? That's not physiology, is it? That's psychology. Or maybe the call screener was...
Or is it psychophysiology?
I don't know what that is.
It's like psychosomaticism.
Gary?
I think that's a physical aspect. I so wanted to talk to Shannon Q about this, but I think it's a physical aspect of our brain. It's a fact for sure that the only thing we've ever known is existence. Before we knew existence, our brains were not developed enough to understand the concept of existence. But now that we are, I think, therefore I am.
Okay.
And because that's all I ever knew, that, I believe, that concept is what supported my notion that the Christianity thing, well, it must be true because I feel like I'm going to live forever. The other thing, of course, that makes us think that we are going to live forever is our horribly distorted and inflated egos. I'm too important to die. I must be going to live forever.
Gary, I'm one of the most humble people you'll ever meet.
I'm not.
But I do also have that experience where I can't really wrap my head around the idea that I'm not going to live forever. Every so often, I have that realization of like, oh shit, pardon my language. This is just for a little while. I better make the most of it. I'm only going to play AAA games. I'm not going to, play solitaire. But
what's wrong
or
with
whatever
solitaire?
whatever it is that people do to enrich their lives, I'm not sure. But I want to talk about your deism. I think, why do you believe that a deistic deity exists? What's the foundation for that belief?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
That's what I'm here for.
I went to the Alcoholics Anonymous program because I needed it really bad.
Gotcha.
And they taught me that if you want to get cured of this alcoholism, you have to develop a good relationship with God. And because I was brought up in a Christian home and had been taught that, well, if you want to have a relationship with God, you need to read the Bible, I started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the prayer and meditation also, that helps a lot. That's a nice calming effect.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I studied that quote unquote word of God and actually read the book, which so many Christians seem to want to avoid, it didn't seem very likely that these were actually the words of a God. So I guess it's been 5 or 6 years ago I started to really wonder about that. And then after a couple of years of listening to you guys on the TV, it's firmed up my belief that it's just a couple of years left for me.
Okay. You say you have a couple of years left for you, and I guess you said that twice now. You don't have to share this if you don't want to, but are you you suffering from some sort of physical malady that is going to cut your life short, Gary? If you're comfortable even talking about it.
Severe aortic stenosis, they said. I'm very, very anxious about finally getting things straightened out with the attorneys to get my estate in order.
Okay.
I'm more worried about that, making sure that everything's going to be taken care of like that I am. I'm not really that much. I'm not worried about the actual passing thing.
Sure.
I'm old enough that it's expected.
You got loved ones though you care about, right, Gary?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Mostly my pets.
Okay. Pets are loved ones, to be sure. Well,
absolutely.
Well, Gary, you talked about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm glad that you got the help that you needed to get off of the alcohol. If you had trouble with it, certainly that can ruin people's lives for a while. To be encumbered by any kind of substance use issue. But
I've been free from that since November 25th, 1984.
Hell yeah. Way to go.
Congratulations.
Way to go.
I'm very impressed. As someone myself who's had a very negative relationship with alcohol in the past, but still considers himself to be an atheist, and as somebody who was an alcoholic as a theist, and also as a atheist, and somebody who then got to handle, I think is the best way to say it. I'm trying to be as sensitive as I can on this topic. With my alcohol, I didn't find that solace in a, quote, higher power when it comes to beating the alcoholism. I'm assuming that when you say you did a program, I'm assuming it was something similar to a 12-step program where one of the steps is you give yourself over to a higher power. I tried all that and it didn't really work for me. But what I found was that I looked at myself and I started to examine why I was going through the issues I was going through from a personal point of view. And I didn't find that I needed some deity to help me do that. I found that the hardest thing for me was realizing that I was the person in control of my relationship with alcoholism. Why is it that you find that you need more of a relationship with some form of deity to help you with that? I'm not trying to diminish this in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just trying to get to the granular level of why a deity has helped you.
Well, it was the initial. I was only 29 years old when I found myself in all this trouble and needed help. And it was absolutely because of my Christian upbringing that I started to try to develop this relationship with God. And like I think I said, the more that I worked on that, the more I became convinced that this God concept is not going to, it's just not presented accurately in the Bible.
Sure.
I continue my prayer, I continue my meditation, and it's just.
Okay, Gary, I just want to steer. Yeah. I want to steer you back. I know you're in the middle of a thought, but really, I want to steer us back. I get why you don't think that whatever church that you grew up in was useful or accurate or reflective of the universe that we live in. I get that because that's where I am too. But you went to deism, and what I want to know is, deism is kind of like a prime mover god, a god that doesn't manifest necessarily in the material world. That's my understanding of it. An unapproachable god who doesn't really get involved. You don't pray to a deistic god. You don't have miracles from a deistic god unless it's the miracle, so said, of the existence of the universe. So what is it that holds you on to a deistic god? And I know you said that you needed to have one to help you with Alcoholics Anonymous and get a hold of your alcohol use. But what are your reasons for believing that a deistic god believes that there is a prime mover, that there is a supernatural being outside of space-time? What are your reasons for that? And then we're going to move on.
It's the god of the gaps.
Yeah, but the god of the gaps it's usually a pejorative term that folks on this show would say, well, you don't know the answer, so it's the god of the gaps.
So are you using your deism to fill in those blanks for you?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, then.
What if you didn't fill in the blanks?
What if you accepted that there are blanks there?
Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, I did. I mean, personally, I did that. I accepted that there were elements of blankness, and it was very scary. So if you were to accept these elements of blankness, what do you think it would do to you?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I would still be able to continue along my merry way.
All right. Well, that's what I was hoping you would say, because I didn't want to get too deep in here and disabuse you of your beliefs and then have you feel bad and cold and lonely and afraid. But yeah, I would challenge you, Gary, and all of us. I want to say this: Gary is not alone in this. We all have limited time left on Earth. Absolutely. Gary says he's got 1 or 2 years. I might have less. But for the time that we have left of us, let's try to shed ourselves of comfortable illusions by examining our beliefs and make sure that we have sufficient reasons for believing it, because it's amazing what burdens you can cast off once you get rid of certain I say fantasies, certain assumptions. It can
certain
be
ingrained elements.
There is, we talked about this earlier with one of the earlier callers, the world we live in is multitudinously beautiful. The people, the relationships we have, the relationship with reality can be, I would say, as consuming as any relationship, so-called, with a deity. And so, well, keep on your journey, Gary. I'm not going to try to deconvert you right now, but I wish you the best of luck. Call back if you have a change of heart on your deism and you want to share some of those thoughts. All right. We're going to move on.
Thank you for your call, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. All right. So, you know what? We have merchandise. We have a plethora of merchandise. Visit tiny.cc/merchaca for your AXP t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, and even our limited edition t-shirts. Finally, we want to send a big thank you out to the crew who put this show together every single dingle week. Do we have a crew cam? Are we looking at a crew cam right now?
Hi,
there
crew.
They are. There's some of them. But there's a whole lot more people that make this show happen. And without those people, Phoebe and I are just having a Zoom call, talking about
football. As much as I love having a Zoom call with you, I mean, there are call screeners, there are chat moderators, there are call finders, there are Discord moderators. There are a whole plethora of people that put this show together. Yeah. And if you read those credits at the end, you'll find out just how many people put this show together.
Yeah. And in case anyone out there is wondering, you cannot have a short Zoom call with Phoebe Rose. It can't be done. I've tried to do it. We have another super chat from Courtney C, $1.99, saying, I'm paying $1.99 to ask Johnny about the straw. I thought I've covered this before. It's just a metal tube with slits at the bottom so that the tea doesn't get into your mouth, so you can drink with all the pleasure that yerba mate can offer. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. Nothing more fancy than that. All right. So we've got a bunch of callers. I know that this is the American Football Contest of Champions Day, and we were thinking there wouldn't be people, that the atheist and the theist community would be so busy cheering for those contestants. But it's, they're here and they want to do it. I want to take this next call from maybe Tim is an American football fan, maybe not. Tim's coming out of Washington, D.C. Phoebe, that's our nation's capital. And
so it's your version of London.
It's our version of Londinium. And Tim wants to know why on earth do we atheists, on this show at least, bust on God/Jesus? Why can't you accept him? Why don't you want to be free? This is a good one. I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start
yours
TV.
For the moment.
Yeah, and then I'm going to pass it right over
I'm here. I'm listening.
You too, Tim. I don't believe that God or Jesus exist. It's as simple as that. When I bust on Jesus. When I bust on God or Jesus, it's not God or Jesus that I'm teasing. It's not even believers that I'm teasing when I'm doing the teasing. And I do a little bit of teasing now and again. It's the arrogant people who want to call me a would-be sinner or a stupid person or an arrogant person. I just like to tease them. So when I tease about Jesus,
school, bro.
Say again.
I said too cool for school, right?
Yeah, those people are too cool for school. Absolutely. And I'm just the guy in the back row just trying to keep a low profile so that the teacher doesn't call on me, but I always get called on. Phoebe, why do you bust on God and Jesus?
I wouldn't say I bust on God or Jesus, but as somebody who used to, be very deep on Jesus.
You're gonna hold on there, Tim.
Sorry.
Tim, we got a little bit of overlap there. Phoebe was talking. Tim, go ahead. Phoebe, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Well, as somebody who used to, be one of these synagogue-going individuals, I wouldn't say that I ever busted on God. I wouldn't say that, I particularly busted on Jesus when I was, deep into my Judaism. But when I look back on it now, I go, well, why was I doing that? I was doing it out of blind faith, as they say. And this blind faith was not very healthy for me because I wasn't understanding exactly what it was all about. I say I still lean into my Jewish heritage. I still lean into my Jewish past and my links with that side of me, but I just don't follow that religious side of me anymore. I don't follow that side of me anymore from a religious point of view, because I've started, and I have always on the continuous deconstruction of why I was doing that. And I wouldn't say I necessarily busted on God or Jesus, but if that's busting on God or Jesus, then I'm quite happy to hear why Tim thinks that my personal journey to understanding me and my relationship with myself is, a negative. And I now consider myself free. I consider myself to be free. Now, I consider myself to be somebody who is now free. I can look at that person, and I was trapped in going to the synagogue on a Friday night, trapped into these kinds of things. And now I am free. Convince me why I am no longer free.
Hello?
Tim?
Yeah, I'm here.
So convince me, Tim, why I'm no longer free.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed a lot what you just said. Well, I cut off at the end there.
I'm sorry. So convince me why I'm not free.
Are you transitioning?
What's that got to do with anything? Transitioning to what?
Well, if you're transitioning, obviously you're not free for your mind, your ego. Satan's really talking to you. I was just asking a question.
Oh, okay. So I am always transitioning in my understanding with myself. I say, as somebody who was a very religious person.
But that's okay.
That's irrelevant to this topic. That's completely irrelevant to this topic.
I don't want to go there. No, that's not why I called. I didn't call for that. I was talking about why do you have to be an atheist, and I like the opening, but man, you took it a whole nother direction. You're just all about. I can't even go where you're going. I wanted to say I'm going to testify. Okay, I had an experience where I was doing push-ups outside a 2-story window. Pull-ups. And I fell down, and I was pretty much in the spiritual body. And I pretty much realized that the only thing that matters in this world is how much you loved and how much you showed you loved. And that's it. Nothing else matters. And it's from
your original, Tim, I'm going to stop you. Tim, hang on. Tim, I'm going to stop you right here. You said, why don't I want to be free? Why don't I want to be free? In the screen notes, you've said, why don't I want to be free? I consider myself more free now than I've ever been in my entire life. Somebody who has deconstructed and looked at my own. Yeah, but why am I? But tell me why I'm no longer somebody who is free, or I am giving up freedom. Tell me why I'm giving up freedom.
I would say because you are trying to go against the way God created you.
But I no longer believe that there is a God or a deity controlling me. I believe that control was a form of lack of freedom. I believe that now I'm looking at myself, and I'm now convinced that I'm in control of myself, that I am now free to make my own decisions. I'm free to live my life as I choose to live my life. And therefore, that is my form of freedom. And I feel that I'm now free from the control of going to a synagogue on a Friday on a regular basis, going through all these individual rituals that I was doing. And I'm now choosing what I do myself. How am I now less free that I am now choosing to do something different? How does that make me less free?
I don't know what to say to you. I can't judge you. There's only one God.
You've made a claim.
That's Jesus Christ. Why do you deny him?
Because I haven't seen any convincing evidence that this God or deity or gods, for example, exist. Because how can it be?
Okay.
Hang on.
I've had it. I was trying to testify, but you stopped me.
Okay. What is your evidence? In 60 seconds, crew, could we put the clock up? In 60 seconds, tell me.
Okay, I was trying to testify. 60 seconds. I went into the spiritual body. I understood that the only thing that mattered in this whole life is how much you loved and how much you showed how to love. None of this shit matters. If you want to pretend to be a pervert, you could be a pervert, but you're going to have to answer in the end.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. If you're going to start casting aspersions, I'm going to mute you there, because I'm not going to listen to aspersions be cast upon myself here, and you make wild claims as you do. I'm going to unmute you in a second, and if you make any more comments about being a pervert, I'm just going to drop you without any warning. So that's your one and only warning.
Excuse me.
Tim?
I said forgive me. What? Yeah, Tim's still here.
Okay. Did you hear what I said?
No. I dropped out again. There's a drop out.
I muted you because you were calling me a pervert, so I cut you off. So feel free to say what you were going to say, but you call me a pervert or you make aspersions again, I'll cut you off.
Respond. I don't know what you just said.
You called me a pervert, Tim. I don't think we're getting anywhere with this call now. I'm going to give you.
It's just like porn. Every man.
Okay, Tim. Thank you. I'm ending the call with Tim now. I wasn't quite sure where Tim was going with that, but
sorry about that. I had some technical issues, Phoebe. Some people have a fetish. They want to be publicly humiliated. And I'm not saying that Tim is one of those people, but, I know we're not supposed to kink shame. Nevertheless, thank you for handling that. Sorry I didn't have your back there. We had some little technical difficulties.
Oh, that's okay. But, these things happen. And I hope the callers there were more than happy to see that I was able to hold my own against, Tim. I wasn't, though, going to let Tim keep on proselytizing to me and start calling me a pervert and other such things and making comments on my sexuality or my gender identity. That's not what this show is here for.
No,
but
it's not.
yeah,
Tim,
this is the kind of things that cheapen the debate, in my opinion.
I agree it does. Tim, you welcome to reach out to me at Johnny at atheist-community.org, and maybe I'll discuss this further with you. But until such time as you do that, I shan't be taking any calls from you. We have. I'm gonna do the promo reel at this point. We have a lot of shows here at the Atheist Community of Austin. We talked about it: Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, the nonprofits, the most important one. Truth Wanted, and Secular Sexuality. And if you did not catch those shows last week, stay tuned. This is what you missed.
Lubrication. We preach this a lot here. It's great. Use it.
Lube is your friend.
How can I reason when an atheist believes they share a grandpa with a chimpanzee?
I don't believe that.
Nobody believes that.
The Pope's saying that homosexuality is not a crime. And I suppose we can call this a step in the right direction. I don't know if I should actually start singing Step in the Right Direction.
You threw me off by jumping into hard solipsism, because that's not somewhere I was going to go into.
I'm constantly unconvinced about your existence, Richard. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Johnny, when you commit sin, don't you feel kind of bad? And
I don't think I've ever committed a sin in my many years walking this earth.
Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you can arrange to be in the Austin area on February 26th, consider joining us at the studio audience at the ACA Free Thought Library for live broadcasts of Talk Heathen and AXP. Doors open at 6 Actually, doors open at noon on Sunday. Parking is where you can find a legal spot after the lot is full. It's going to be full. Just park around the block, plenty of parking. If you can make it there this month, we will continue to broadcast live from the library the last week of each month. So keep watching this show. Check the website at www.atheist-community.org for news and information. Speaking of being in the local Austin area, if you do live in Austin or are Austin adjacent, and you know who you are, we are in great need of additional crew members for the shows. So if you're interested in assisting with video, audio, call screening, or any other technical matters, you can attend our live studio shows, or you can attend our live studio shows. Please email us at tv@atheist-community.org. And the production team will be in touch. All right. So let's see here.
We did have a super chat coming
good one.
from Cronstaro for $2, asking, well, can Phoebe explain why she's wearing a Star of David? Well, it's my heritage. I am of Jewish heritage. I wear it to remind me and to express my Jewish heritage, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I ascribe to Judaism anymore. It's an ethnicity thing, and it's part of my ethnic identity as somebody who is ethnically Jewish, but it's not something that I attach any form of religion to. So that's why I wear it. It's a kind of way of me reclaiming the symbol of my Jewishness without it being a religious symbol.
Yeah. And that's and Phoebe is not alone. I believe that the majority of people of Jewish heritage are non-practicing, non-theistic Jews. But there is a rich cultural tradition that has helped the Jewish people. I'm Gentile-splaining right now, Phoebe. Sorry about that. But
you're free to. As somebody who has been to, Israel, and somebody who has done what the Israeli government do in relation to their reconnections with homeland and stuff.
Yeah.
I felt a deep connection to my Jewish heritage, but not from a religious point of view. And that is one of the reasons why I wear a Star of David. It reminds me of my roots. I'm not saying that I'm in favor or against any government of any color. But yeah, that's where I am with my Star of David.
Yeah, someone in the chat said, I think it was actually the person who did the super chat, but Judaism is directly rooted in its religion. I would say, just from my perspective, my understanding of it is, yes, that's true, because a lot of the practices are religious in nature, but that's where
you could also say
go ahead.
You could also say being English is directly rooted in its Christianity. It doesn't necessarily mean that I can't identify as English and be an atheist.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so I think we ought to take a call here from Mike. Mike is a he and also a him, and he's coming out of Washington. And Mike wants to know, did a natural cause form over 300 amino acids in the correct order? Basically, did random chance create life? You are on Atheist Experience with Phoebe Rose and Johnny P, and I'll answer this one. I don't know, but I don't think it's random chance. I don't think that's how the scientific consensus doesn't describe it, as random chance. Like some might say a tornado tearing through a junkyard doesn't create a 747. I don't think it's that. I think it's a function of the way chemicals interact. But I'm not a scientist. Phoebe, do you got a take on this one?
So what it could have done, it may have done, it may not have done. Why did a natural cause form over 300 amino acids? I have absolutely no idea. Mike.
Yeah. Mike, do you know?
Yes. Well, I don't think it's a natural cause because of the order. There's 98 chemical elements, and 6 of them account for 98% of what organisms are made out of. And there's 300 different types of...
Yeah, which 6?
What's that?
Which 6? You said 6 out of 98. Which 6 are they?
phosphorus, sulfur, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Did I say nitrogen?
You did. I think the sixth one you're looking for is potentially hydrogen.
Well, okay, so you think it's not a natural process. So what do you think it is then? If it's not natural, what is it?
Well, let me finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
You tell me if a natural cause can. And out of those 300 amino acid kinds, they're listed in the Practical Handbook of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. 20 specific ones are arranged in 16.8 billion of those 20 specific out of 300 kinds, possible kinds, are arranged into 42 million proteins, averaging 400 amino acids long, all correctly sequenced and 100% left-handed.
Okay.
And that you think the chemistry can explain that?
Well, I don't think that an invisible being that exists outside of time and space and explains it, but I don't know how that came to be. I'm not a biologist. I'm not an organic chemist. I'm not an evolutionary biologist. I'm not a scientist in any way. But Phoebe,
the question I've got to ask is, if this isn't of natural cause and this is from some intelligent or higher being, why on earth did they make it so complicated?
He was showing off.
Yeah, but there's no need for it, though. There's absolutely no need for it. Why on earth would you make it so complicated? Why would you allow so much failure into the system? Why would you allow so much error to be allowed into the system? Why would you do it in such a manner?
The creation is in a fallen state.
Okay.
It was created good, very good in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Man
so
was complete, robust, and we're on the lower. Pardon me,
Mike. Chemistry changed when Eve took a bite out of the apple. Is that what you believe?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Okay. No, corruption was allowed.
Who created the universe originally? In your view, who was
the God
responsible?
Of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Cool. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob created the universe in such a way that it was possible for human beings to fall into a corrupted state, as you put it, right?
So we can make a choice. So we can make a choice between good and evil, and the example of good compared to evil.
Hang on, Mike. So God created the universe, but God knows exactly what's going to happen at all times, right? God's
but we're not automatons. We're not automatons.
No, Mike. Mike. God knows all things. God steps outside of time. Doesn't exist inside time. God exists outside of time, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Sure. So when God created the universe in the form that God did, according to your beliefs, God knew what was going to happen because all things were laid out before him from his perspective, outside of time, right?
Yeah.
So God made the universe in such a way that he knew that man was going to fall, and he had the ability to create the universe in a way where man didn't fall, right? Or that maybe making decisions that weren't exactly in line with his particular pet rules would not result in a corrupted state for all of the universe, right? He could have done that, right?
He could have, but he didn't. He
chose not to.
Choice.
He chose not to. He chose to create it in such a way that by choosing to eat an apple or a fruit, that would doom all of mankind and all animals in the flood to, death, and for humans, damnation. He could have done it a different way, but he chose to do it so that he wanted to see what would happen. He wanted to watch the suffering. He wanted to populate hell because he'd already put a deposit down.
You wanted
What's
to give
going
us the opportunity to choose. I've
just got to jump in here. I've just got to jump in here. I'm sorry. So, do you believe in the concept of the devil?
Yes.
What are the origins of the devil?
He was created the most wise and beautiful angel, and his pride got to him, and he wanted to be worshipped like God.
So are you saying that the devil is a creation of God?
Yes.
So if the devil is a creation of God, did God know that the devil would exist after creating this prideful angel?
Yes.
So
God created the timeline for it to end for you.
So getting back to your original question, I'm more inclined to believe that random chance did create life than an individual deity, as you say, a god, created this entire timeline that they know from start to finish in the manner that it has been done, because quite frankly, it does not make any practical sense to me in any way, shape or form. Tell me how the creation of the devil, the creation of life as it is, makes some form of practical sense to any entity of any kind.
Objection form. Phoebe, rephrase the question, please. I
Okay,
think I got lost.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that there's a being, a god, that has created the devil, that is corrupting this other creation, humans, that have been created by God. It doesn't make sense to me why you would do that. Explain to me and Johnny why it makes sense to do that in the first place.
It is showing the example. Well, first of all, God rules by his own rules. He pays attention, you know.
So you're saying God's doing this on a jolly?
What?
Are you saying God's doing this on some form of jolly just because he can?
No. It's for the people who choose to agree with his point of view of what good and evil is. And this does end. Same with Satan's rule. It ends.
Mike, do you? So you're telling me?
Let me put it this way.
Hold on, Mike. Let me put it this way. Mike, let me put it this way. So God created how many people? What percentage? If you were to hazard a guess, what percentage of people would you say end up in heaven of all humanity?
It's somewhere around 10%.
10%. So 90% of humans are either cursed to oblivion or damnation. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
That ends. Hell is destroyed.
So what happens? What happens to the 90% of human beings?
They just made their own choice.
No. What happens to them? In your belief system? What happens to the people who don't go to heaven?
Out. Their soul ends. It says in Matthew that fear the one. Don't fear the one who can kill the flesh, but fear the one who can destroy both flesh and soul in hell.
Nice. So God created.
You're back to the rock.
Mike, you're talking over me, and right now it's my show. It's not the Mike show. My show. So I'm going to unmute you, and I'm going to assume that you're going to interact. So God created all the humans, but only 10% of them are going to go to heaven, and 90% of them either. Well, you say they blink out. Okay, their souls are destroyed. That's a big waste of time. Could God not have created humanity so that 100% of them go to heaven?
You get to ask him one day.
Okay.
Are you saying Johnny's going to heaven?
Maybe if I choose to believe.
You just said that Johnny could ask him. So is Johnny going to heaven?
No, every man stands before, a woman stands before the judgment.
That's cool.
To answer for his in doing
well,
good or bad.
Cool, Mike. Let me ask you this: what are the qualifications for getting into heaven? Like, what if I had to put it on my resume? You know, you got like the minimum requirements. What would be the minimum requirement of getting into heaven?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know.
What are your minimum requirements for getting into heaven?
Let's get back. What's that?
No, Mike. No, Mike. We're going down this track. What does your faith tradition
for
tell
a certain
you?
reason.
It's
the
Mike,
creation part. You know, the evidence of creation. I thought.
Well, let me reconsider here. Oh, the amino acids. Yeah, but we want to talk about this. So, what does your belief system say is the precondition for getting into eternal life in heaven?
Believe on Jesus Christ and He's my Savior.
Oh,
he
cool.
Made the sacrificial sin for my sins.
Okay, great. Now we're on track. Okay, so all I have to do is believe that Jesus is my Savior, right?
Yeah, it depends on what you consider believe.
Okay.
You know, there's at least a couple different, beliefs,
Sure. But I'm going to ask you something.
You understand
Mike,
that, right?
Mike, do you choose your beliefs? Can you just say, I'm going to believe something, and then you just make it happen? Is that how it works in your idea?
Well, you do with the natural origin of life.
I do? So I choose to believe.
You don't have any evidence,
I choose.
Do you? What evidence do you have for the natural origin of life?
I don't have a reason to believe a supernatural origin of life. And so as far as the origin of life is concerned, as far as the origin of life is concerned, Mike, I kind of just take a step back and I let the experts learn what they can and describe and develop hypotheses and theories and develop the science that make testable results. And they can say, this produces this. But as for an ultimate origin of life, I got a big old goose egg. I just don't know. But I have no reason to believe that it's a God at this point.
I'd like to just ask you the following question, Mike. When I believed in and followed Judaism, I believed that Jesus existed, but I believed that Jesus was a prophet. I didn't believe that Jesus was my savior. Did that therefore disqualify me, past me, from getting into heaven?
Yes.
Why?
According to Scripture.
But my scripture, at the time in Judaism, said Jesus existed, but Jesus was a prophet. I'm not denying Jesus' existence, but why did that disqualify me?
If you have an honest ignorance, you'll get judged according, to basically the golden rule, how you treated other people.
Where does it say that? Where does it say that in your Bible? Mike, where does it say that in your Bible?
Oh, I don't know exactly, but it does.
Okay. Well, let me ask you. Maybe you could find it and send it to us. But my other question, Mike, is why do you think that your Bible is a roadmap to morality? Why? Not that you do. Clearly, you do, because you know your Bible pretty well. Okay, give me your best reason.
The first line.
In the beginning,
first line in the Bible, even Einstein got that wrong. That the universe had a beginning. The very first line. Einstein got that wrong. But look at here. Let's go back to the creation thing. Here's another thing about why.
No, Mike. No. So the fact that the Bible describes that the universe has a beginning is proof to you that everything else that comes after it is true.
Don't twist things, man. Just one reason. There's many. In Hebrews 11:3.
Well, but are these all independent reasons, Mike, or are these independent reasons? Like, is that enough? the fact that the
Well,
Bible
what's enough
says in the
is-
beginning. What's that?
Well, what about Psalms 139:14? If I am
What does
fearfully
that
and
say?
wonderfully made. If I am I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. You ever
And
looked
that,
at the little
and that
all the
specifically
components of a
tells
living
you
thing?
that a biblical God exists because you
Just
have a
one
high
of many.
estimation of your being made. Why should I?
You want me to give you another example? You want
I'm not
another
following
example
you,
of being
Mike.
I'd
made?
just like to jump in. I'd just like to jump in here.
Yeah.
Is that the scripture that you're using to say, getting back to your original question, which you're desperate to get back to, that the 300 amino acids in the correct order, is that your biblical justification for the deity?
No. You're not listening. No. No, there's 300 kinds of amino acids.
No. I'm paraphrasing your question now. I'm paraphrasing, Mike. I'm paraphrasing your question there. I'm asking you specifically.
Yeah.
Is that psalm that you've just read out your scriptural justification that it's not random chance? Is that your scriptural justification?
No, the empirical evidence is.
Okay, so what's your empirical evidence?
In biology, huh? May I say something? May I quote you some numbers on DNA?
Mike, the problem is you're giving us a lot of data, but it doesn't necessarily lead to God as the source of the data. God is the reason why these things exist. As atheists, those of us who don't believe that a God exists, we don't know why life is here. We don't conclude that it's God. Okay, we just don't know. At least I'll speak for myself, and maybe Phoebe, that I don't know why life is here or how it came to be from inanimate matter, because most of the universe is not animate, and then there's living things, right? I've encountered living things. I've encountered rocks. Okay, but I don't know why there are living things. I don't know how living things came to be. I'm not saying that it had what its origin was, what the process was. Again, I'm not a scientist. I just don't think it's magic. That's it. And you say it's God magic, though, right? For you.
No. You're saying magic. Just that's a disparagement on your part.
I'm sorry.
Darwin. Just hold it. Just hold it a second. Darwin speculated about a warm little pond where life originated.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be magical?
When I
Wouldn't
think
that
of
pond
magic,
be magical?
When I think of Magic Mike,
I think of Penn and Teller.
You think of Penn and Teller, illusions. I think of
David
fantasy.
Copperfield.
I think of fantasy and make believe. Okay, we could equivocate. We could say that something that is beautiful or something that is surprising is magical in the sense that it makes our hearts swell with emotions. But a pond wherein the amino acids and all these things formed into a more complex thing that eventually led to what we call life, that's not magical because it doesn't involve make-believe to me.
Yeah, but you can't make a single protein.
I'm not in the business of making proteins, Mike.
But Mike, they have grown in a lab things like beef burgers. They have grown those in a lab. So they are on this earth in a lab creating proteins from scratch.
Thank you. You just said the magic word, created. See, they have to
But this is humans doing it. This is humans doing it. This isn't the sky god doing it. This isn't any god input doing it. This is science doing it. This is biology and food science here, working with the base elements and mixing those base elements together to create, in this case, a hamburger. Not anything else, nothing from outside of it coming in and waving over it and going, it's now here. It's the base elements reacting as you would expect them to react in a certain way to create that hamburger. Are you following me on that part?
Yeah, but that hamburger is sourced from existing protein.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Make the proteins. Make it from scratch.
So the fact that a human being in the year 2023 can't create from absolutely nothing or some sort of elemental material or quarks or whatever is proof to you that there must be a supernatural origin for all life, and your reason for that is because it says something up in the Bible about how your creations are beautiful, or God's creations are beautiful. I don't know, Mike. I'm not with you. I'm just not with you.
I'm with Johnny. I'm not with you either, Mike.
I'm not with you, Mike. I'm glad that you are convinced of. No, I'm not glad that you're convinced of this. I think that maybe you're satisfied with your answer, and it's a comforting answer. How did you? Were you born into the faith, or were you raised an atheist?
No.
Which?
No, I tell you, you know what started is when I was in high school. All I was taught was evolution in high school, and by accident, I looked at the Miller-Urey experiment, the most cited experiment that basically says that that amino acids occur naturally in proteins and all this, and they become more complex. Well, I looked at the Miller-Urey experiment, and they didn't start from 98 elements. They started with 4 that they knew amino acids were made out of. And then they never made a set of amino acids in any kind of condition that would form a protein. And I started thinking, well, they lied to me. They said that life was, scientists had killed God, and they haven't.
Cool. Mike, I'm going to ask you the question again, and maybe you'll answer it this time. Were you raised in a religious tradition, or were you raised as an atheist?
No.
Which is
no question.
Which
Mike.
is it?
One set of grandparents. What?
Mike, it's not a yes/no question. Were you born into religion? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you were born not believing in a God concept. Yes. Your parents were not religious.
I don't know. I never talked to my mom about it. I know my dad wasn't. The only time my dad was ever in a church is to go to a funeral or a wedding.
And the moment that you started believing in a God concept, was it when you were in high school and you learned about evolution, or was it something else?
No, it was after high school when I realized what they taught me about evolution. About it wasn't true, and I was wondering because then I looked a little bit more at how complex, only certain amino acids, the arrangement there is the order, and the sequences are just too fantastic for probability.
So you can't comprehend how natural forces would have created biological life, or would have developed into biological life. So therefore, it is a God.
The order.
It's a God. Okay. So the order. Okay. So the fact that you can't comprehend how there is this order in the universe that leads to biological life, that's your justification for believing in a supernatural existence.
I'd just like to add one more thing. Why must it be disordered?
What's that?
You say that it can't be ordered. Why must it be disordered?
No, it is. No, it is ordered. The order is...
No. You're saying that it can't be natural if it's ordered. Why can't it be ordered? Why must it be disordered if it's natural?
Just like like a dictionary. all those.
That doesn't answer the question. Sorry. I'm going to stop you there.
No, I'm getting there. Don't interrupt me. Well, look at.
Oh boy, you
here's
said the
order.
magic words, Mike. Don't interrupt me. Mike, I think that it's very clear that in order for you to have the best conversation, the most interactive conversation, because I do think that you have a lot of scientific understandings that perhaps are beyond Phoebe and me. Maybe you should call back when Forrest is on. I think Phoebe and I have identified where maybe you're tripped up, and that's because you don't understand how natural occurrences could lead to the origin of life, or to life as we know it now. It must be a God entity. We're not scientists. We can't go through those I can't. I don't think Phoebe can. Maybe you can.
Not to the level that someone like Forrest or student Dr. Ben or Shannon would.
Forrest, Ben, and Shannon are going to be the ones you're going to want to talk to. Mike, I encourage you to go ahead and call them, and because I think it's just not going to work talking to us. But again, I think for Mike, it comes down to I don't understand, therefore God, and that's the argument from ignorance. And I'm not necessarily calling you ignorant, Mike, but let's see. I'm going to take one more call here.
I think one last call.
Yeah, let's talk to Mac. Her out of California, a Mormon friend is being abused by religion, and you're not knowing what to do. How do I help him? How do I ask questions? Mac, you're on the line with Phoebe and Johnny. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Holy Jiminy, it's great to talk to you. Yeah, so
We've been waiting a long time.
Thanks for that. That's actually
for like an hour and a half.
An hour and 50 minutes. So go on. But tell us more.
I don't know what time it is. Okay, so I won't try to waste your time. And it actually kind of, the caller from way back before said he was in a 12-step program. So am I. I'm in a 12-step program. I am an atheist. I actually have a sponsor who's an atheist, so that's cool. But in my program, I have this friend. He's an absolute sweetheart, but one night he calls me, and he's Mormon. I try to be respectful. I say the LDS Church, and because I don't like being called that, but it's so much easier saying Mormon
these days. Yeah.
So
it's fine for such a long time.
He calls me.
Okay, go on.
I know. Sorry. So he calls me, and he's absolutely distraught. He's just crying and wanting to unalive himself. I don't want you guys getting demonetized. And I'm like sitting there. I'm like, it's okay, bud. And he's wailing, crying, saying, the demons are talking to me. I'm bad. I'm awful. I should just off myself because I'm not a good person. I'm evil. And no, this is not to make it a funny thing, but he said that he looks at people's butts and thinks that that's killing their spirit. And he said that verbatim. And he was just wailing on the phone, and we talked for like 3 hours. And I'm like, it's okay. If you're going to hell, I'm definitely going to hell.
Yeah.
I do more terrible things than just looking at butts. I think about a lot of things.
Good time.
And it's a great time. And
butts can be very, very nice.
I know, butts are great. Sorry.
All I say is just don't be an arsehole.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch nothing. My grandma used to say, "Don't touch nobody." So, and she never got gender specific. Just don't touch nobody.
It's a double negative, Grandma.
So
touch everybody then.
Yeah. Go on, Mac. Anyway, so
we digress.
Yeah, so your friend. Sorry.
Sorry. No, and so the way that it ended was, I was like, I really think that you should go into, into a mental hospital. And he was saying how that's like hell. That's literally the worst thing than hell. He said he'd start killing people if we talked about a whole bunch of different topics. It was just so crazy. And he did put himself in, and he felt better. But now every time that I speak with him, he's like, do you believe in a spirit, Mackenzie? And he calls me Mackenzie because in my program I go by Mackenzie. Everywhere else I go by Mac. And mind you, he was in the program when he was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird because Alcoholics Anonymous is like, how can you be whatever? But I'm actually in a food program for food addiction.
Okay.
So it's just slightly different. And
yeah.
He thinks that he's such a bad person for not being abstinent, because that's what we call it, for not letting God into his heart enough and not being good enough. He's the oldest of 13 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, this is why God doesn't exist. And I don't want to be that person that's like, well, have you ever thought about
no, you don't want to be that person, I don't think, Mac. Yeah. Phoebe, you got some thoughts. I'll let you.
I think you need to be very sensitive with this. As somebody who was very fragile when they were in a position of abusive religion in my past, you need to be very, very fragile with how you actually approach this person. You need to be very calm, you need to be very collected. You need to let them tell their story. You need to understand their position and where they're wanting to go with their position. And it may very well be that your friend is not actually wanting to go down the path of leaving a religion at this time. They may not want to go down the path of losing their belief in God. That may be something further down the line, but that may not be where they are at the moment. And you need to be very, very careful with that. You are doing the right thing as far as I am concerned. It's saying, please seek out necessary medical help and so on and so on. And that's something that you should be encouraging, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor. Please don't take that as a medical advice in any way, shape, or form.
No, of course,
but
of course.
that's where you should be directing them. If you don't feel comfortable, you're more than within your rights as a person to say, I'm not sure I'm the best person to speak to. I can help you with some of the broader themes, but I'm not sure I'm the right person that can help you with the specifics, with the nitty-gritty. And you, as a friend, saying that may be one of the best things you can say as a friend, saying, look, I can be a friend to you, but I can't be a therapist to you. I can be a friend to you. I can be a shoulder to cry on. I can be somebody that we have a glass of Adam's ale, as they call it, and so on, over a nice meal, and so on, and go, hang on, we're having some difficulties here. We need to understand where they're going.
Yeah.
We need to see where you want to go. And it may also affect your relationship with your friend. Your relationship may evolve as well. And you need to be open to that as well, because your friend may very well change as a person. You may very well change as a person as well. You may change together. You may change apart. You may change closer together. And you should be open to that as well throughout this process. But all I would say is, from my own personal experience, is let the cards fall where your friend directs them and just try and steer them. Don't try and be the person who pushes the dominoes over. That may do more harm than good.
I would piggyback on that, Mac. Right now, it may be that your friend has a lot of pointy spikes, pointing him in every direction that is natural to him. Right? People telling him no, 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 constantly no. Turn to the right, no. And although you want to have this person steer directly to the path that's going to be happy and healthy, maybe all you can do right now is just be the one place in your interaction where it's a positive, it's a comforting, it's a place where you'll listen. Phoebe's exactly right. You're not going to, you can't receive and be the sounding board for everything and the decider for this person. But you can be a place where that friend can feel open to speak to you, and then you can explore options with your friend. And you know what the options are: therapy, psychological, whatever it might be. Go to a doctor, get some help. Maybe find a place where they, I haven't had this experience, so I don't want to give advice, but what I can say is that you have an instinct to do it, like all of us do. When you see a friend that's in a bad relationship, you just want to grab the friend, shake them, and tell them exactly what they have to do. And it doesn't work that way. That person has a bad relationship with religion, has a bad relationship with their own sexuality and religion, has a bad relationship with probably a lot of loved ones and the community that they exist in, and they are in a state of self-loathing. And so you need to find a way to get that person into a safe place where they can explore their own future. Yeah, Phoebe, you go ahead and say what you want to say. I can see that.
So what I would say is that the atheist community of Austin does work very closely with recovering from religion. And if you feel that that is something that, after you have done your due diligence, of course, would be beneficial for your friend, then I think it could be something that is very beneficial towards your friend and helping them in this situation. They are trained in this area. They are, as far as I'm aware, they have specialists in this area. So my advice would be that Recovering from Religion is an organization that you should look into. Mm-hmm. Personally, they helped me when I was exiting religion. And I think that it's something that you should be very mindful of potentially saying to your friend, well, I think that you should be seeing somebody professional. You've said that you don't want to go down the mental health route. Would you seek somebody who is a specialist in recovering from the kinds of religious issues that you're speaking with? I have looked into them. This is their details.
Yeah. The difficult part, that's a great idea. The difficult part is if this person is not willing, it doesn't want to leave their religion, they're still clinging on to it. I don't think they're even at that point. It sounds like all you can really do is be ready with resources, recovering from religion, maybe find some therapists that aren't going to try to steer them back to their religion, but find some secular therapy. Isn't that a secular therapy project?
There is a secular therapy project as well, yes.
Maybe get in touch with that person to provide you with advice. They're talking about ending their lives. You're probably going to want to go ahead and call suicide hotlines,
National Suicide Prevention Hotline,
and get some advice on what do you do when if you think that it's a credible threat. And you know what? Don't even be the judge if it's a credible threat. Call them now. Find out what you could do. What are some signs that this person may be approaching a credible threat? And then being a person who listens. But I'll tell you this: aside from your friend, we've talked a lot about how you can help your friend, but Phoebe touched on how you need to help yourself in this. It can become overwhelming to be the point person, right? For something like that. And although we're all in this together, it is not your job to... Oh, go ahead. Phoebe, we've talked. Mac, we've talked. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say. I'm sorry.
It's totally fine. Because I think if anybody is at an experience with 12-step programs, you tend to get calls a lot of the time where it's like, I'm gonna drink or I'm gonna eat, I don't know what to do, and it's like, all right, let me talk you off that ledge, because I've been very, very good at that for the past 4 years. And
you sound like you're talking about sponsors.
Really,
would that be accurate in this context? So you're talking about your sponsor or your... I don't quite know what the American equivalent was, but when I was first introduced to one of these programs, somebody was like a mentor for me, somebody that had done it before. Is that something similar that occurs in American programs? Sorry to interrupt you.
We call them sponsors. Yeah, I have a sponsor. That's technically what I'm talking about. Is just my different fellows is what we call it in the fellowship, which don't even get me started on the 24-hour a day. It fucking pisses me off. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on your program.
Too late.
But
unring that bell.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, but like something that really broke my heart in what he was talking about is that he begged me not to abandon him. And at that point, it's like slowly moving from religion into the health aspect. Something that I also wanted to quickly mention is, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Mormons, but they go on missions and stuff to spread the word of Jesus. And
LDS Jesus.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're not hurting
No,
my
we
feelings.
were agreeing with you.
Yeah. Not just Jesus, LDS Jesus, the special variation,
the LDS
special variant.
Utah Jesus.
He was also raised in Utah, so
Beautiful,
when
beautiful
he had
state.
a mental breakdown and he
Sorry,
had to come back home, his mom said he failed his mission. And it's hard for me to not hate Mormonism because it's hard for me not to hate religion in general.
Yeah.
I grew up in a somewhat. Oh, sorry.
No.
I just wanted to ask you this question: are you looking after yourself in this? Are you remembering who the most important person here is, and that is you? Because if you're not looking after yourself, you're no good to your friend. And are you making sure that you're looking after yourself? Do you have people that you can go and see, that you can talk to? Are you seeing anybody of a professional nature? Should that be something that you are prepared to engage with or are happily engaging with? Are you making sure that you're decompressing, processing, and that you're not allowing yourself to take a secondary position here? Are you making sure you're doing that?
Oh, trust and believe. I'm now on 3 different medications and having therapy twice a week.
Okay.
I make sure to take care of myself first. That's one thing that I can make sure that I'm taking care of. And
good.
It's just, I think essentially what you guys are saying is, don't try to deconvert this friend.
Mm-mm. No, that could result in a blowback, and I say at this point, help this friend whenever they ask for assistance. Direct them to those services, those individuals who can provide them with professional assistance. Be a sounding board, but don't be a pincushion, and keep on taking care of yourself. And it might be a long road, and I hope for you and your friend that there's a turn in the road and there's going to be some happy days, but it doesn't always work that way. So be prepared for that. I do appreciate you calling, Mac. Wish you the best of luck in it.
Yeah. Can I have
Thank you for your call, Mac. Thank you ever so much.
Do you have one more question?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I have one request. Phoebe, you are absolutely valid in who you are, and screw that other guy that was being super rude. And can you guys
rudeness
say,
is
no,
a
you're
thing
just
that
hang
I'm
up
used
on
to.
me?
Oh, that's not my line. That's my friend's line.
I know,
Sorry,
but I want to hear it. Oh, okay.
Phoebe, it's nice to want things, but
it is. It most certainly is. But I feel like I may get a trademark or a copyright infringement if I was to say it.
Yeah, I'll hear about it later if I were to say that. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. You take care, Mac. Well,
thank you.
I think that's the end of the road for us today, Phoebe. Did you have a good time?
Absolute blast. I didn't feel the hand of God though, so I'm still waiting for that World Cup goal to be explained to me by the hand of God. But if you're getting that reference, then I am very proud of you in the audience. If you're getting that reference, if you want to email me specifically about that, I have absolutely no idea how you can email me specifically about that. That was just me sounding off.
We'll figure it out.
There you go.
Well, anyway, if you want to email about other things, you want to find out what's going on in the community, you can visit our website at atheist-community.org. The latest on what's been happening and how to contact us, how you can get involved. You can also email us at tv@atheist-community.org. Thank you so much for joining me, especially jumping in last minute. Really do appreciate it. I know that we can find you on Secular Sexuality. You're also on the nonprofits.
You most certainly can.
That's right. And well, with that, I think we're going to say goodbye. Everyone out there, take care of yourselves, take care of others, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to stop questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Have you ever wanted to be a host on an ACA show or be the one calling the shots behind the scenes? Are you in Austin, Texas, or at least Austin adjacent? Well, on Saturday, February 25th, make your way down to the Free Thought Library because we'll be holding open auditions for show hosts and orientations for prospective crew members. For those wanting to be hosts, you'll be able to sit in the studio where our shows are broadcast and we'll put you through your paces to see if you can be one of the new personalities of the ACA. For future crew members, you'll get hands-on experience using the equipment used for broadcast and will help us record the host auditions. If you've ever dreamed of being part of the ACA productions, then this is your chance to show us what you've got. This event is free. For more information and registration, visit tiny.cc/ACA auditions.